Interested in listening to a story or if you like to be read to, my name is Lasha. And although this book, Ask Not, the Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed, has been read online and talked about over and over and over again, well, you've never done or heard, well, you've never done, you can't do my take. I've never conducted my own take on it. Now, instead of me reading for an hour, I'm just going to put the phone down like this so you can just plainly listen to the story. I don't want my facial expressions to be analyzed. I'm just simply going to read, and so I don't get a copyright, I'll interject every few paragraphs and just sort of paraphrase my thoughts because I've heard so many different takes on this. And I don't know if any of you remember that movie Elegy with Penelope Cruz and Ben Kingsley. And he was an art professor. And he said, and I'll never forget this line, if you read a book and then you pick it up and read it 10 years later, are you going to see it the same way? And probably not. So again, we are on page 4 of Ask Not, but I'm placing you over Carolyn Bissett's page. So we left off with John F. Kennedy Jr. piloting the plane. So we left off with sometimes Carolyn would say no to John, just to say no, to humiliate him to real life. It always stunned him. When they first started dating seriously after he had ghosted Carolyn, the formerly accommodating, easygoing Carolyn of a few years before, she recalibrated. That's where we left off yesterday. And there is a playlist, and it started yesterday on Friday. So now we're into the bottom of page 4. She stood up to him once. This was before everyone had cell phones. No way for her to reach John F. Kennedy Jr. as he sat in a darkening Broadway theater, all eyes on him. Actually, we did read this yesterday. Sorry. We're on Ask Not, the Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed, and we're reading Carolyn Bessette. It was 1997, and John's magazine, George, barely 2 years old, had gone from being one of the most successful launches in industry history to a spectacular failure, teetering on the brink of insolvency. Worse, no one read it. John, as an editor-in-chief and face of the magazine, you know what, I'm going to interrupt here, and I remember, because I'm 54, I remember the first the first run of George, and there was Cindy Crawford as George Washington. He also had that famous iconic footage of Drew Barrymore dressed up as Marilyn Monroe. And if memory serves me correct, his mother was alive at this time. Why on earth? And he wanted Madonna to do it, but I believe she turned it down. Why on earth would John F. Kennedy want to put two of the most painful situations that ever happened to his mother on the front of a magazine? What, he's misogynistic even toward his mother? I mean, I know Maureen Callahan really does write this book in reference to the author of her author's narrative. Maureen Callahan's narrative is she wrote this because she didn't believe that Bobby F. Jr., Bobby Kennedy's son in the Democratic Party, but then he started campaigning for Trump, and now he's the head of the healthcare system or something. Well, she wrote this book to expose the egregious behavior that seemed to be in the Kennedy DNA. And if you go to the first chapter that I read yesterday, the first 10 minutes, you know, these women knew what they were walking into. And the women are not blameless or victimless in any of this. So, anyways, here we go. It was a label that had plagued him since he failed, but the bar exam twice in his 20s. So he failed twice. An exam he never wanted to take, forced by his mother, Jackie Onassis, of course, to pursue a respectful career in law. I mean, these elites, I really tried. Okay. Tabloid headlines all over the New York screaming some variation of the same headline, the hunk flunks. Oh, I remember that. When did he finally pass his mother having arranged special circumstances for this third test, and the estimated Manhattan's district attorney Robert Morgenthau arranging a plum position for him? John new colleagues were unimpressed. So even the people that John F. Kennedy worked with, that John F. Kennedy knew, they knew, like the flunk hunks, there's always truth behind what we read. You just have to read between the lines. And who leaks all this stuff is what I'd like to know. Should we just take Maureen, she must have gone back, because if you're in your 50s, you remember the Kennedys were like treated the way the royal family was, and that dynasty has since fallen apart, and I don't believe it's a curse. And this is the whole question of the book. Was it the behavior or was it a curse? So I'm going to leave it at that for today. Just a little bit to ingest, and we'll see how this clip goes. If you enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. If you would like me to continue reading this, let me know. My next book will be The Exorcism of Emily Rose. If you would prefer that over this, just let me know. Thank you so much.